Okay, let's dive right in. We all have these projects we pour ourselves into, right? A big paper, a business idea, maybe a piece of art, and we get so focused on the surface level stuff, the research, the data, the execution. But what if the most important work isn't even on the page? What if it's all happening just beneath the surface, trying to tell you something? Seriously, just think about that for a second. That topic you picked, that problem you're obsessed with solving, what if it's not just some random intellectual exercise? What if your work is actually a mirror reflecting something really deep about who you are? Today, we're going to figure out how to read that reflection. You see, every single project has this visible surface layer. It's the words, the charts, the final product. It's what everybody else sees. But the real engine, the thing that's actually driving your curiosity and your passion, that's hidden in a much deeper layer. And that is where the real work and the real discovery actually happens. So this hidden dimension, it actually has a name. We call it the tacit layer. It's kind of like this invisible force that is quietly shaping everything you do and everything you create. The physicist David Bohm had a really powerful way of thinking about this. He called it tacit thought, and it's basically everything that operates before we even put things into words. Think of it as this background field of all your past experiences, your assumptions, your gut feelings. It's not loud or obvious, but it is always on, influencing how you see the world and what you find interesting in the first place. It really boils down to this. On the surface, you're dealing with the what, the data, the facts, the stuff you can point to. But in that tacit layer, that's where you find the why, the hidden assumptions that are driving your questions, the feelings that pull you in a certain direction, the deep-seated reason you even care about any of this. Okay, so this is all pretty fascinating, right? But how do we actually see this invisible layer? How do we make it tangible? Well, it turns out the tools you're probably already using are the key. Just let this one sink in for a minute. The act of choosing a topic, of chasing down a question, it's never random. It is an act of self-revelation. Your curiosity is like a spotlight, and wherever you point it, it doesn't just light up the subject, it also lights up the person holding the light. And that person is you. For example, think about a tool like a concept map or a mind map. We usually think of it as just a way to organize our ideas, but it is so much more than that. It is a literal printout of your brain's unique wiring. The connections you draw, the ideas you group together, that is a visual reflection of your internal model of the world. It's a mirror. And here are the specific clues you want to look for. Start thinking of these feelings as a form of data. When you're working, pay attention. That little flash of energy you get when two ideas click together, that's a signal. That nagging feeling of resistance or that sense that something's missing, that's a signal too. It's pointing you toward where your most important learning is hiding.
So how do we turn this into a practical toolkit? Well, we can actively tap into this tacit layer just by asking ourselves a few really powerful questions.
And here's a super important point before we dive in. This is not about judging yourself or trying to find all your flaws. That's impossible anyway. The goal here is simple: awareness. It's just about learning to see your own patterns with curiosity, not with criticism. Okay, here are 4 prompts to guide you. First, just slow down. Become an observer of your own mind. Second, start actively questioning your assumptions. Why do I believe these two things fit together? Third, pay special attention to the edges, the stuff you avoid, or the ideas that seem to break your model. That's often where the real growth is. And finally, before you even start, just pause and ask, why this? Why now? What deep inner need is this work actually fulfilling for me? Now, when you start using this toolkit, something really profound begins to shift. Your entire relationship with your work transforms, and that's when the real work can finally begin. Ultimately, the whole point of this is to bring that tacit layer out into the open. Once you can actually see the hidden assumptions and feelings that were shaping your choices all along, you gain this whole new level of clarity and intention. You're no longer just being driven by these forces, you're actually in a conversation with them. This slide really captures the whole transformation. See, before, you might have thought your project was just an inquiry into a topic, but with this awareness, it becomes a dual inquiry. Yes, you're studying your topic, but you're also studying yourself as the thinker, the creator, the person behind it all. And this is just so important to get. Your dissertation, your business plan, your art. The real work begins long, long before you ever write a single word. It starts right here, in the moment you learn to watch your own thought as it takes form. So, I'll leave you with this question to carry into your own work. The next time you sit down to create, to research, to build, just pause for a second and look into the mirror of your own ideas. As your thought starts taking shape, what is it really showing you?